Okay, good day everyone. This is CJ with Rogue 420. I am very excited today to be delivering another Rogue interview. Could not be any more excited about my guest today. As you know, in previous interviews, we've talked a lot around cannabis, the industry. Today, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk in specifics around advocacy. And there's my guest today is Thalia and also Michelle Walker. And Thalia is the co-founder, director of advocacy and policy at MAMA. And what MAMA stands for is Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism. Michelle Walker is the director of state chapters for MAMA. It's a great organization doing a lot of wonderful things to help families, in particular with medical use for autism. So, Talia, Michelle, welcome to Rogue 420.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into it. So, I shared a little bit around your organization, which also I participate in. But in specifics, I want to talk a little bit around how both of you got started as a cannabis advocate. So, Michelle, would you like to go first?
I'll let Talia go first because she is one of the founders, and I think her story really has a lot of power.
Well, and it'll lead into Michelle because the way Mama started was Amy Lou Faywell and I were going to the same church here in Austin, an evangelical Christian Bible church. We were in a special needs moms group that Amy had helped start at the church. And, for years, we'd known each other for years, talking about our kids and different struggles and things. And Amy was the one who first started researching cannabis and autism. It had popped up on her radar. And I guess a couple years into it, she came to me um, and kind of got me more aware of it. I had a book and a blog, another platform that I was working on. And um, I think we thought we could raise awareness through that platform. But after we spoke one day at coffee, it was March 2014, we decided to launch Mama and to try to change Texas laws if we could. It was a bit naive of us in some ways, but it's been one of the best things I think either of us has ever done. And certainly it's been empowering. And then Michelle came onto the scene, I think a year or two later, Michelle.
I think it was about a year later. I my son has two diagnoses. He has more than two, but his main two are autism and epilepsy. And Amy Lou had been reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, have you read about cannabis for autism?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And I just kind of, kept going down my path. And then one day my son was diagnosed with intractable epilepsy, and I felt like the world just kind of crumbled on me. And there was Amy just very kindly just saying, "I want you to know we're here to support you, and if you ever want more information." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I want more information." And the way we even got hooked up is I did a radio show somewhere and I plugged Mama without knowing Mama, but I knew their goals and I aligned with their goals. And, the universe brought us all together and I just kind of jumped in with both feet.
Yeah. For me, I think with Lance, when Amy first told me about cannabis, I was a little bit skeptical, but I went ahead and tried a hemp CBD with my son, and we saw some immediate gains. We saw some things we didn't like as well, some hyperactivity, etc. But we saw some immediate gains, and I thought, well, if this CBD oil can do this, then certainly, kids that are aggressive, self-injurious, that have epilepsy, that have more challenges than Lance does, certainly those kids could benefit as well. So that was a big deal for me right there at that point. That's where I really got committed, was when I saw those gains in my son on CBD oil.
Right, right. Now, what other traditional medicines in the past? And you don't have to go into specific, but maybe the important question to ask was that how did traditional medicine serve you, or traditional medicine help your family?
I can't say that it really did. We were offered Adderall and Risperdal and Abilify and the things that kids are offered, but I never filled any prescriptions for Lance. Adderall scared me because it's an amphetamine. It has the street value. It's known as legal meth. So I did not want to put my son on that. With Risperdal and Abilify, those are the only two FDA approved drugs on the market for irritability and autism. And the side effects on both of those are horrible. And I think Michelle probably did for seizures. Yeah, Michelle, did you go with traditional medicine
We
at all?
did, and unfortunately, we're still in the process of weaning from them because they are just that harsh. The medicine that my son uses, he was at the FDA maximum dose and still seizing. But one of the side effects of this medicine is aggression. So it just, compounded the aggression he already had associated with autism, and it just became overwhelming. He was attacking us every day, and it wasn't helping him, it was making him sick. It can cause long-term kidney damage. So what do when the medicines are causing more issues and not even helping the problems? That's how.
That, and yeah, we did a lot of other things. We did a lot of supplements. We tried a low dose chelation. We did we saw doctors around the country. I mean, I felt for a couple of years there, I felt like I was on a flight every other month going to see some kind of doctor or specialist, but I was pretty adamant not to put Lance on prescriptions because I was seeing my friends with Risperdal, these kids are gaining tremendous amounts of weight. It messes with their progesterone levels. So the boys will grow breasts sometimes. They'll end up with diabetes 9 times out of 10 because they gain incredible amounts of weight, 30, 40, 50 pounds or more. Um, so traditional medicine, I don't think has any answers for the families we're talking about. Like Michelle said, her son got more aggressive. A lot of these families are feeling like they're at risk for their own lives. Some of these boys are getting into teenage years, young adulthood. They're strong. They're capable of hurting their families. We have a lot of parents in our organization that are, scared of their kids. And some of the kids are hugely self-injurious and to the point of putting themselves into hospitals from the self-injury. And we just don't think that the pharmaceutical industry has given us a good alternative, certainly not one that's comparable to cannabis.
Right, correct. Yes. And that's the amazing thing to understand about cannabis, and we learn a lot about families that have I believe there was a video that was shared by one of the families in the mama community, just was and I think believe it was like shared, like it went viral. It was like had 2 million views, correct? Was that this past summer that happened?
Are you talking about Christy Zartler, where she was punching
Yes,
herself in the
yes,
face?
yes, yes.
Yeah, that was last February that went out.
So
Yeah, last February, Mark and Christy Zartler published a video of their daughter, Kara. She has cerebral palsy and autism and is incredibly self-injurious. She would punch herself in the face multiple times, bruising, this kind of thing. They would put a helmet on her. They tried everything under the sun, saw tons of doctors, nothing helped. They came out, the story I think is that some friends suggested that they try brownies for their daughter, and eventually they did, and she responded well. And from there, they just said this is what's going to work for her, and they started using a vaporizer with her. And they told their doctors because the doctors had no better alternatives, and the doctors kind of said, "Well, you guys do what you have to do because we have nothing." And in the end, Mark was reported to CPS. They were reported to CPS. CPS investigated and said, well, we can't do any better by her either. But it's on Mark's record that I forget how they worded it, but basically implying that he's been physically abusive, but they're not taking action against him. That's basically how the whole thing fell out because what he's doing is illegal. So it's a bit of a ridiculous situation, but the good news is that Kara is able to get her medicines. Mark and Christy are able to be upfront about what they're doing, and cannabis works for Kara. So those are the positives of that
right.
story.
And why I like to talk about that story, Michelle, I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you have something you want to add?
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
The reason why I talk about that is because I think that was a very pivotal moment for the movement because it helped people to realize the medical benefit of cannabis. And I think our families are no different than other families when it comes to the care that we provide to our families. When traditional medicine has failed us, we will pretty much do anything that we can find to help our kids and as they grow to hopefully become healed. And that's why your work with Mama, both of your work with Mama, is so important. So let's talk a little bit around advocacy. I know that you have several chapters in several states, so let's talk about Mama, its mission statement, perhaps chapter. Share anything you'd like our listeners to know more about your organization.
I'll speak to the mission statement and let Michelle talk a little bit about our chapters because that's kind of her area of expertise. Our mission statement is to educate and advocate. So we are here to educate and empower families so that they can advocate for their children regarding the issue. That's basically what it boils down to. On our website, it's worded much more succinctly, but that's kind of what our scope is. We're here to educate families, empower them, help them to advocate for their children, whether with a legislator or with a doctor or with someone in their community, whatever, so that parents feel empowered around this issue. Because a lot of people are seeing the videos and know what's going on and kind of want to get involved or want to be able to speak about it, but may not know all the facts. And we just want families to be empowered around it and really know what they're talking about when they're having these conversations, whether that be with another family member, a neighbor, a doctor, a legislator, a teacher, whomever.
And we have chapters all over the country. And, our organization is truly a grassroots organization, like Talia explained. Two moms talked to each other and said something has to change. And this has blossomed from that. And we have our chapters in various states from New York to Colorado to Arizona. And our goal is to add autism as a qualifying condition. And really what it takes parents and a community that's ready to really put their boots on the ground and make this happen. And we help guide them in that because there are 3 states with autism as a qualifying condition. So there's a reality that this can happen.
On
Yes,
where
go
she
for
was
it.
leaving off. Yeah. If anybody is interested in working in their state towards autism as a qualifying condition in their state, our website is www.mamausa.org. You can find us on Facebook with a /Texas Mamas. Um, that name is a little unfortunate. It's specific to Texas because that's where we started, but really the Facebook page is a national page, even though the / there is Texas Mamas.
So our Facebook, I heard Talia talking about that. It's facebook.com/Texas Mamas, or you can just search Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism, Mama. It'll pop up. Our Instagram is at Mama_USA, and Mama is MAMMA. Our Twitter handle is at Mama66300507. And for those of you in the community, you may know that 6630507 is the United States patent that says cannabis is a cannabinoid. Cannabis is a neuroprotectant. And it just kind of backs up that cannabis is medicine.
Very very well said, and I'm glad that you said that. Yeah. So in terms of the need, I believe at one time there's still several what they refer to as medical refugees. Is that correct? Where families are having to uproot and move to legal states to be able to provide the care for their family. And we don't ask that of any other medical condition, right? I mean, when you're diagnosed with cancer, you can go anywhere in the United States and receive, treatment and so forth. And those seeking medical cannabis, that should be treated the same way. So, what your guys' work is just so important. So, I just want to thank you both. Any closing comments? Anything else you'd like to share?
No, just Michelle is a medical refugee. She's in Colorado. She left Texas from San Antonio to move there to treat her son, and we are seeing more and more families having to make that option. But we have a lot of hope for Texas. Like you mentioned, the Zartler video was pivotal. It really changed things here in Texas. We were able to get 78 co-authors on a medical cannabis bill last year, 35 Republicans. We anticipate more momentum. Eventually this whole thing will change. So we have a lot of hope, and we hope more families will join us in the cause.
Very good. Michelle, anything you'd like to add?
Like Talia said, my family became medical refugees back in February. And what I want to share with families right now is kind of a message of hope. I know as we go on this journey, there's no guidebook, there's no how to. And like Talia, we utilized a lot of different interventions and methods. Cannabis has changed and saved my son's life, and it saved my own, not only in the epilepsy aspect, but in autism. I see so much self regulation and his personality and cognitive ability. And I took him to Rockies games. And I mean, to those of you listening with a severely affected child, you can imagine what it would be like taking a child to a professional baseball game. And cannabis has allowed these things to happen. So, to you families out there, medical cannabis is hope. And please do not give up hope. And please go on our website, research a little bit, reach out to us, and just keep pushing on and don't lose the hope.
Very, very well said. So our listeners, thank you for listening to a great interview with Talia and Michelle of Mama. Please visit their website, support their work. Maybe perhaps this doesn't apply to you, but maybe it does a family member. Maybe it does a neighbor. So for those learning about medical cannabis for autism, share their information. So want to thank our listeners, Talia and Michelle. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.